Another week in the books. Your boy is back. The nonprofit sector connector. That's right. Connecting nonprofits. That's the game. Bringing people together. Tommy D. That's my name. I just made that up right there on the spot. Maybe it's because we're going to be talking about Rap for Bronx. And maybe that's just thinking, maybe, like I'm emceeing an event this week coming up next Thursday. So this Thursday, the 14th. So a little bit of MC Tommy D action in the house, in the attic today. The show is Philanthropy and Focus. I made it 2 flights up the stairs this morning to do my program. It's right around 160 some odd episodes. And as a sales guy, and if you could relate to salespeople, I'm always a sales guy at the end of the day. And I say it's 160 or so on a plan of 5,000. A plan meaning a quota, a number I've put out there. 5,000 episodes of this show I call Philanthropy and Focus. Eventually, Monday through Friday, I'll be doing the show every single morning. Because what better way to start your day or my day or our day than hanging out with a leader of a nonprofit organization and helping them tell their story, as I like to say, and amplify their message. Because nonprofits change our world each and every day. And it's my job to help them tell their stories. All right. So listen, without further ado, there's a couple things I actually got to point out. My guest today is Shana McCormick. We're going to get into a good conversation, strong conversation with Shana and her, talk about her organization and the incredible work the organization is doing. I need to just point out, and I got to find the website because I, a little bit of the ADHD right now. And I do call it the ADHD for y'all. Like if it's like, it's like the Facebook, the Instagram, the nonprofit sector connector, and then the good old ADHD. Imagine Awards, Tommy D. I want to get you all to know that the New York City Imagine Awards applications are out right now. Imagine Awards. Let's just check it out right now because I want you all to know about this. The New York City Imagine Awards. So the Long Island Imagine Awards event is coming up. And that will be May 1st out here in Long Island. But the application process right now for New York City Imagine Awards is something you all need to know. You need to know it because if you are on the board of an organization, if you are affiliated with, if you lead an organization, there are 59 days, 13 hours, 55 minutes, and 57 seconds. Now it's 55 seconds. Now it's 54 seconds. It's moving fast. That's a clock. That's a little TikTok clock. NYC Imagine Awards or Awards. NYCImagineAwards.com. Shout out to Ken Serini and Associates for all the work they do, what they've done for the sector. And as I say, May 1st, if you don't know about the Long Island Imagine Awards on May 1st, you do now. And reach out to me, TommyD.NYC on Instagram. Send me an email, TommyD@philanthropyandfocus.com, and I'll get you sorted out. You come to the event. I know, excuse me, nonprofits. Look, here's the thing. There's going to be like 400 or 500 people at the Crest Hollow Country Club out on Long Island for that event every year there is. And there will be again this year on May 1st. There's going to be probably 100 different nonprofits in the room. Of course, the awards are important. Of course, the recognition is important. But when you call yourself the nonprofit sector connector, you know what the most important thing is? Being in the room, meeting these other leaders, collaborating. Because if we know anything about our sector, it's about collaboration, right? It's not, I don't buy into gang. And listen, I'm not always from abundance, right? I'm a human being. So sometimes that scarcity creeps into my mind. But I really don't believe we're all fighting over the same dollars. What I do believe is that there are resources out there and we can leverage community, leverage relationships to, have those dollars work longer and further than they may have if we were just saying, hey, man, I need the dollars. No, let's see how we collaborate. All right, he's on the soapbox. Let's step down off the soapbox, put you away for a little while, soapbox. But if I know Tommy D, you'll be back. All right, so Shana McCormick, what is up? Good morning. How are you? What's the deal? I'll tell them who you are and your background, the organization in a couple of seconds. But good morning. What's going on? Welcome to my show.
Good morning. And this is the energy that I need to start my day every day. So thank you, Tommy.
You know what? I will do the show every Monday through Friday, every morning. We're going to do the show. It hasn't happened yet just because I have to work out some situations, but that will give you a way to start your day. Whoa, there's Tommy D. He's interviewing another great leader. Like, for instance, let me tell you something. Last week, I interviewed somebody I think we have in common, Alex Zablocki from the Community Fund.
Yes, yes, Alex is amazing.
And that's what, people are saying that to me. I think he's amazing. We had an amazing conversation last week for the work that his organization is doing with NYCHA and the arts. And I was like, I think I promised him by the time the end of the show was there's some event coming up in May, and I was like, dude, I'll bring Italian ices to the event. It was one of those. My dad owns Ralph's Ices. Shout out to my dad who really allows me to how do I say, steal Italian ices from him and hand them out. I'm like the oh God, what was his name? Run around the sheriff of Nottingham. Help me out. The guy he would steal.
I'm terrible with,
He, he
names
would,
and all that stuff.
Logan, I need your help. Mick Collins, I need your help. He would steal from the rich and give to the poor. That's kind of like what
Oh,
I
Peter and Paul? No.
no,
I forget.
Mary. No,
Robin Hood.
Robin Hood. Robin Hood.
There you go.
It's like Jeopardy here.
I
What
was
is
thinking Peter would steal to give to Paul, but then it was Robin Hood. Okay.
No, it was Robin Hood, and like he would steal. So I steal Italian ices from my dad and then give them to nonprofits. That is a joke. My dad
There you go.
and donates those Italian ices to nonprofits. In fact, the store is out in Huntington on New York Avenue next to the Paramount. If you want to help him out, because I've given away so many Italian ices, why don't you all go out and buy some ices from my dad? The store opens, I think, tomorrow, or it might be open today. But we're
'Tis the season.
it is the season, Italian ice season. We are in it right now, man, for sure. All right. So I promised Alex I was going to bring ices. So that's what happened last week. But then it's funny because when I was promoting that Alex was coming on the show leading up to last week, Sophia Oliveri from your team reached out to me. She's
Yeah.
like, "Hey, we were supposed to get Shayna on your show." And I'm like, my bad, because I know we were supposed to do that. And she was like, well, then let's fix that, kid. And I was like, I know you're probably in transit right now, Sophia. So I hope you're laughing as I'm talking about you. But it was just like, she's like, we got to get her on the show. I said, well, let me just talk to the whole board of directors of Philanthropy and Focus. And I said, okay, we're good. Because I am the whole board. I make the decision. Well, it's
Good
my
for you.
show. Jada, it's my show. I can do what I want. I do whatever I want, man. All right. And what I want to do is talk to you and learn about your organization. We're going to talk about Skyline Charitable Foundation. We're going to talk about RAP for Bronx, Rap for Bronx, which I kind of
Yes.
talked about at the beginning of the show. I'm wondering, and I'll just say it now, with a name like Rap for Bronx, I'm wondering how you can, if you're already not, how you can tap into the hip hop community and talk about some, fundraisers and things like that. So we could talk about that, but why don't you tell me about the organization as a whole? The foundation. Give me your background. Why are you even in the nonprofit world? What was like? Where'd you grow up? What was it that said to you, man, I want to be part of the solution?
Yeah, no. Well, I have to admit one thing for Alex. I did not listen to his interview because I was afraid of following him up. He's amazing. Sophia and I and some of our other colleagues met with him recently. He's doing great work, and I'll probably touch base on how we're collaborating, and hopefully we'll continue to collaborate later on. But to your question about how did I end up here and what do we do? It's a fully loaded question, right? But um, I ended up here because two people fell in love in Queens, New York, and then they procreated and had me. But and I grew up in a single parent household. Yeah,
We were just that's
go
what
ahead.
we started. It's funny because in the virtual green room, I mentioned how many children I have, and I was like, yeah,
Yeah.
man, 4 of them. Yeah, we're all about procreation, man, trying to populate the earth. That's what it is. So it's funny you go to the procreation out of the gate. I love that. So
We're tying it all in.
that's it.
But yeah, so born and raised in Queens, I grew up with my mom, and had, my mom's one of seven, so I always had aunts, uncles, cousins, and whatnot around. It was wonderful. And so that, in a sense, is community. So, I knew what community was and the importance of community. And I'm sure many of us have heard the term, it takes a village, and it genuinely does. And so, yeah, just really always tapped into community and helping each other and family, those in the neighborhood, things of that nature. Everybody kind of pitched in to help one another. But professionally, I have a background in accounting. I was with a firm for about 11 years. I learned so much there. I was doing personal income taxes, sales tax, payroll, property management, bookkeeping, and I kind of learned a lot in that area. And then it was time for me to move on from that firm and wanted a challenge, and I joined a group of construction companies. I started with Spring Scaffolding in 2017 and joined their family. I still consider them family. And again, learned a lot there and just kind of started to develop my skill set there. And so Spring was actually from a group of companies, and you'll see why I'm
Mhm.
going this route. But so Spring was a part of a group of companies within the construction and restoration world. And we have a common owner, this gentleman named John, and he's a big visionary. And we all ended up working together under one roof in Long Island City, Queens. And so the group of companies all came together, working under one big roof, sharing some back office resources and things of that nature. So I started with them in 2017, and then we all know what happened in 2020. So the pandemic hits when New York City was shut down. Obviously, that affected the many industries, and one of them obviously was the construction industry. So job sites were shut down, laborers were laid off, there was no construction, nothing being built, and things of that nature. We were really blessed in the group of companies to keep our jobs. We all took pay cuts, but our CEO had made a commitment for us to all be able to keep our jobs, the office personnel, anyhow. And from there, we kind of all came together to think of how could we tap into the resources that we have available to address needs that are, that have risen out of this pandemic. And we know that there is many needs and disproportionately needs in certain areas of our city. And so there was a task force team that was formed, and me being who I am, I can't freaking sit still. And my job at the time was to collect money from our clients, and I couldn't do that, and I was really grateful because this task force was formed, and I, of course, wanted to join. And we started to brainstorm on what resources do we have available, such as fleet vehicles. The job sites were shut down. We have a ton of vehicles sitting in the parking lot, and also laborers, individuals that are ready, willing, and able to work. To drive those vehicles to help with last mile delivery supplies and other necessities. And so at that point, we started packing pantry bags, one to address the need for our laborers that were out of work to bring home food to their families that were now home and they were out of work, and that helped kind of subsidize their needs to a certain degree. And then also connected with some community boards, one in the Bronx particularly, that identified some needs for last mile delivery. And so that's where we started to activate the vehicles and put together kind of teams to do deliveries. That's where RAP, the Relief Access Program for the Bronx, was born.
Let's pause. Let's pause. Let's do it. Time out, flag on the play. No, I mean,
Yeah.
oh my God. So look, it's so funny because we are going to go to break in a sec, gang, but it's so funny how all this happens because we lived through this. It is now, as we stand here now, or I stand here now, it is March the 8th of ironically
Yeah,
March.
we're a few days out from 4 years from the shutdown.
4 years, man. And again,
Yeah.
to me, I don't know about you, Shayna, but to me, it's like this one of these surreal things. Like, shoot, I don't usually curse on the station, so I'll say shoot. Shoot, I know I lived through that time, but wow, that's a weird thing that I actually lived through. And it seems
Yeah.
like it's one of these things that seems so far away, right? Like for me, it does. It's like, but I will tell you this, things that I never did this show until that era of life happened. Like it
And I
wasn't.
never did nonprofit work per se, before
It's
this.
so
So
things that so our own, just you and I, right? Just two individual people. The trajectory of what we were doing in the world changed as a result of that. What I want to just compliment your team. It was such a time. I think it partly reminds me of when September 11th happened and when the city rallied and the country in many many ways rallied around New York. Not to discount what happened in Washington D.C. and the plane that
of
went down
course.
in Pennsylvania as well. But obviously, New York City, the epicenter, ground zero, what our city was like when that happened. And it's like when I started playing around with doing this show, there was friends of mine who own a restaurant in Bayside, Queens, and they had put together something where you remember everybody was bringing food to the nurses and the doctors and the
Yep.
responders, and all the restaurants were doing that kind of stuff. You know, the business community, and shout out to your team. I think you mentioned John, and I'm sure the rest of the leaders.
Yeah, and there were so many Eva, and yeah, there were so many amazing people.
Try to shout them out in the next section when we come back. But I was just going to say, like, that's what it was like, man. That's what we do as human beings. Like, that's the compassion. That's when you roll up your sleeves. You know, nobody had to do any of that stuff. People could be like, look, man, it's my shutdown, man. We're shutting down. I can't pay payrolls. I can't do this. I can't do that. That's one option. Another option is roll your sleeves up, take care of your people, take care of the community, build something that wasn't even there and now is there. So, I mean, Shayna, we got a lot to talk about. We got to go to a break. I told you this. I told you this. We're going to run out of time. We're never going to run out of
Yeah.
words. I hope I never words. Shayna and Tommy D, you mentioned something about all under one roof in Long Island City. I'm under the roof of my house. I'm in the attic. We'll be right back. Philanthropy and Focus.
Are you a conscious co-creator? Are you on a quest to raise your vibration and your consciousness? I'm Sam Leibowitz, your conscious consultant, and on my show, The Conscious Consultant Hour, Awakening Humanity, we will touch upon all these topics and more. Listen live at our new time on Thursdays at 12 noon Eastern Time. That's The Conscious Consultant Hour, Awakening Humanity, Thursdays 12 noon on talkradio.nyc.
Are you a high-achieving, growth-oriented leader? Are you interested in developing your authentic leadership while creating a healthy, inclusive workplace? Hi, I'm Dr. Mira Brancu, host of The Hard Skills on talkradio.nyc at 5 p.m. Eastern on Tuesdays, where we discuss how leaders develop the hard skills needed to make a greater impact. We interview experts, have live coaching, and tackle these challenges. Listen to The Hard Skills on Tuesday at 5 p.m. Eastern on talkradio.nyc.
Are you a business owner? Do you want to be a business owner? Do you work with business owners? Hi, I'm Stephen Fry, your small and medium-sized business or SMB guy, and I'm the host of the new show, Always Friday. While I love to have fun on my show, we take those Friday feelings of freedom and clarity to discuss popular topics on the minds of SMBs today. Please join me and my various special guests on Friday at 11 a.m. on talkradio.nyc.
You're listening to Talk Radio NYC. Uplift, educate, empower.
Nonprofits need connections to move in good directions. So cut through all the static. Join Tommy in his attic.
That's right. That is correct. That is accurate. That is what you are supposed to do. Cut through the static, man. Join me in the attic, man. Check it out. That's my friend Brendan Levy singing from the Queens Chamber of Commerce. Shout out to Queens. Shane is from Queens. My first year, I lived in Belrose, Queens, before I moved way out to Long Island in a town called Franklin Square, where I grew up, and only to get married and move way back into Belrose. So Queens, definitely my favorite borough. Shout out to the Bronx. Shout out to Staten Island. Shout out to Manhattan. Shout out to Brooklyn. But, you know, Q Borough, let's be honest. Let's go Mets. Let's go Mets. Hey, Met fans, this might be the year. Shayna, if you tell me you grew up in Queens, but you are a Yankee fan, I'm going to cry. So how do
I am not. I am a Mets fan. That's an oxymoron. Come on.
you know what I'm saying? I was gonna be sad. I was gonna be sad because you got this BX connection, and I'm going, man, if she's a Yankee fan. But look, we'll get out to a Met game. I just too many ideas in my head. The other night I was out with the gang from the Queens Chamber of Commerce, and that was just 2 nights ago. A bunch of real estate folks. I think it would be good for you and your organization, and maybe, you know, the company, to know some of these people for sure. Tom Gretsch, very good friend of mine, the CEO of the Queens Chamber of Commerce, and Brendan Levy, who was singing that theme song that you just heard, runs all business development and relationships over at the Chamber. And Saturday night I was out because Brendan's band, Damaged Goods, was playing out at a place called Docks on Long Island. So I took my wife and some of the kids. So that's fun. So Brendan and I, we wrote that song together. He's the one who sang it, but you know, it's a Lennon and McCartney thing. I like to say we wrote the song together. You know, it's a dual credit. But while we were away, I was sharing the website, skylinefoundation.us, skylinefoundation.us. I want to go back a couple steps if we can, because the pandemic creates this opportunity, and an opportunity to serve, an opportunity to connect, an opportunity to add to value. And in your case, the task force that that companies put together, that Spring and the other companies put together. However, the foundation had been around already too, right?
Yeah.
So can we talk about that? Because I want to, when you were talking earlier, it's like, how are we going to tell the story? Well, I want to hear about the foundation and Rap for Bronx, as that's programmatic in the foundation. So let's play around
Yeah.
the Skyline.
Yeah. So I guess I would say, and yeah, so you're right. The Skyline Charitable Foundation's been around since 2012. It was established in 2012. And I guess you can consider that one of the resources that we had when we were having our brainstorming sessions. Like, oh, there's the 501c3 that's been around since 2012. And historically, the foundation really just served as a means to have an annual fundraiser, a golf event where folks from the industry being the construction or restoration industry, would come together, play a good game of golf for a good cause. So it was an annual fundraiser, and then those funds would be re-granted to other organizations. But there was no staff, there was no direct service, etc. And so,
like one big event, raise a ton
yeah,
of dough, and then roll that money into the communities where it's needed, right?
exactly. Yeah. So for those that are not in the nonprofit sector, that's basically called re-granting. So you're raising funds and then you're re-granting and giving them to other organizations carrying out, work that's in line with the mission of the organization. But again, so there wasn't any staff, there was no direct service happening, et cetera, but there was a 501c3 established and active for a number of years. And so Rap for Bronx was formed as a program of the Skyline Charitable Foundation. And there was no reason to start a new 501c3, but everything ran essentially through the Skyline Charitable Foundation and still does to this day. And we've started.
Thank you for, thank you, because the
Yeah.
context is important for people. So,
Yes.
and I think it also, it could potentially be a best practice that people who are, I know you're out there, I know you're listening and you're saying, hey, I always wanted to start a nonprofit organization. Now, let me tell you something, gang. I love you for thinking that. And at the same time, I would say to you, there's a really good chance there's an organization that is doing the work you're talking about, or is doing work that is complementary to what you want to do. So I would say explore the marketplace, explore, just the
Yes.
sector, because maybe you can become part of somebody. Now, this is a different scenario because it's kind of all in-house. It's the same players, it sounds like.
Yeah.
But generally in the sector, I feel like, well, I want to go out and address homelessness. Okay, cool. I love it. Thank you. Now, but maybe you don't need to go out and get a 501c3 and a board of directors and employees and try to get a grant writer. Maybe you can go, be part of somebody else's thing. And I say that because I was on a meeting yesterday with the Queens Chamber of Commerce Nonprofit Committee, and we were talking about just this type of things. There's a lot of opportunities for collaboration. If you want to understand more of what I'm talking about, send me an email or hit me up on the Instagram, tommyd.nyc, or Tommy D at Philanthropy and Focus, PHOCUS, because I love talking about this stuff and I have resources in my world that can do that. So put that aside, but go ahead, Shana, please.
Well, that was, Tommy, what you just said is super important, and I couldn't agree with you more. And I think it kind of is in line with how we developed and how we run Rap for Bronx today. So there's three main things for me that I feel are really important to running a successful organization and running this organization. It's pooling of resources, partnerships, and consistency. Partnerships really being the bread and butter to it all. Because, like you said, we're not here to reinvent the wheel. There are so many folks, there are so many groups, there are so many organizations out there doing tremendous work, and they know their work and their communities best, right? So how can we then come in and collaborate and work with them? It's really, what are your needs? Can we help you meet those needs? How can we help you fill in the gaps? But we're not here to reinvent the wheel, or, our idea was not to then, start our own pantry, or set up our own pantries. It was really to help serve and provide transportation for these other pantries. We're essentially a mobile pantry. So I'll get to that. But it was really to help fill in the gaps for other organizations and find out what their needs were.
I want to make a thank you for all that. I literally, the hairs on the back of my neck are standing up because this is the work. This is what we're talking about, because your companies, the businesses, the for-profits said, all right, hold on a second. We want to help. What do we have? We got all these vehicles and we got all these people. Yeah. We got all these people who we don't have, we can't send to a job site. And we got all these vehicles that are sitting there in a parking lot. Wow. Like, think about that, gang. I talk to you all the time about the nonprofits and the for-profits getting together, and my favorite words, strategic alliances. But you want to give back. What is the stuff you have? You don't just have to write a check. You know, like, what do you actually have? Time, treasure, talent. Time, treasure, talent. Time, treasure, talent. Right? So that's the thing. What is your treasure? Some people write big checks. Some people can invest their time and can't write big checks. Some people can.
Or real estate.
Right? But some people
get to that too.
Give time, right? And the whole thing. So and your talent, you know, talent can also be your resources, right?
Yes.
You guys are in the construction world. You have relationships, right? You know, social capital, my other favorite words. But you had the vehicles, you had the labor, and you go, let's address this. These people who are already on the front lines in communities know what their community needs, but they don't have the trucks. They don't have the bodies, maybe, right? That's what you're saying?
Absolutely. And so what was it? Time, talent, treasure? Time, yep. Treasure, talent. Yep. So I like that. Yeah. Yep. So, and talent really was what allowed us to, like, our internal talent, like I had referenced before. It wasn't just me. I mean, I was one of many in that task force. You know, we had Eva, who was, you know, was the marketing director for the companies. We had Alex, who was the managing director at the time. Jack, who, you know, used to take care of the facilities. And I mean, there were so many people. Caesar from Fleet, Johnny Ramos, who was, you know, part of the construction labor force. There were so many of us, and I'm, you know, forgetting some people, so forgive me, but you know who you are. And it really took all of us to kind of brainstorm, bring our talents to the table. How can we help? How can we, you know, work together to make this vehicle move forward? And it was beautiful seeing that. And then, you know, thank goodness, most folks were able to go back to their regular jobs over time. We met as a task force probably from, I think, March through May. And then at that point, I kind of got really involved with the day-to-day and the logistics and the scheduling and the meetings and updating everybody. And then we have to put together a board. It really, you know, developed from there. But
when it became like, and you go, oh, wow, this can't be just like a side hustle for us. Like this actually, this thing called Rap for Bronx, like it has to be like, you know, somebody needs to lead it. Shayna, I mean, it looks like it's your gift. Let's do it. Like, is that how that happened?
That's exactly how it happened. And I genuinely fell in love with the work for a number of reasons. One, I just love people. And I know this is going to sound strange to some, but when I think about, you know, what are my strengths? What are my weaknesses? One of my strengths is just loving. And you know what? When you are in this work, you must lead with love. And I just genuinely feel that that is an effective it's a necessity to the work, and especially when you're in a leadership position. And that's one of my strengths. So it just worked out, you know.
I want to freaking hug you, man. Like this is the whole.
I'm really good at virtual hugs.
Me too. I'll give you one right back. Virtual hug. I haven't. Back in early pandemic days, I used to go to this thing called Remote Daily, and it was like a 1 o'clock to 2 o'clock. It was like a talk show. It was like we'd meditate. It was like it's just this thing that came out of like the pandemic, and I used to go, and we would always do like at the end of the show, and it was like live, and we would do like a virtual hug. I don't think I've done a virtual hug in months and months, so I appreciate that. But you can,
anytime, Tommy, anytime.
Hug yourself, man. It's so good, man. Get those endorphins.
It really is.
Get that oxytocin in your body. What are we talking about? Who knew what this show was going to do? We're hugging ourselves. Oh, my God. All right. So welcome to the show, Shayna. But look, it was 4 guys from Liverpool, England, a bunch of years ago. You might have heard of them, but they told us this. All you need is love. God, stop the fighting. Just find your neighbor. Reach out. Be compassionate. Give the hug. Check in on people. Check in on people.
Absolutely.
I got to go to a break. He's ranting, everybody. Right back. Hey everybody, it's Tommy D, the nonprofit sector connector, coming at you from my attic. Each week here on talkradio.nyc, I host the program Philanthropy and Phocus. Nonprofits impact us each and every day, and it's my focus to help them amplify their message and tell their story. Listen each week at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time until 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here on talkradio.nyc.
Were you an essential worker during the pandemic? If you needed to learn stages of epilepsy, did you depend on advocates? Did you use new innovations to cope with mental and neurological issues? Maintaining high quality of life and keeping good mental health are what we all strive for. I'm Frank R. Harrison, host of Frank About Health, and each week top healthcare influencers, professionals, and innovators answer these questions and more. Stay tuned on Thursdays at 5 p.m. on talkradio.nyc, and I will continue to be frank about health with all of you.
Are you a business owner? Do you want to be a business owner? Do you work with business owners? Hi, I'm Stephen Fry, your small and medium-sized business or SMB guy, and I'm the host of the new show, Always Friday. While I love to have fun on my show, we take those Friday feelings of freedom and clarity to discuss popular topics on the minds of SMBs today. Please join me and my various special guests on Friday at 11 a.m. on talkradio.nyc.
You're listening to Talk Radio NYC at www.talkradio.nyc. Now broadcasting 24 hours a day.
Nonprofits need connections to move in good directions. So cut through all the static. Join Tommy in his attic.
Yeah, that's right. Join me in there. Here, check this out. There's nothing you can do that can't be done. Nothing you can sing that can't be sung. Nothing you can say, but you can learn to play the game. It's easy. Nothing you can make that can't be made. Nothing that you save that can't be saved. Nothing you can do, but you can learn how to be you in time. It's easy. All you need is love. All you need is love. That's it, gang. I'm going to cry on the show again. It's been a few months since I've done that, but I'm feeling extra emotional today. I'm just so appreciative that Shane is here. Just do it, man. Just hug people. Just look out for people. Make a change. Make the world a better place. If you think I'm too mushy, I don't know. Listen to some other show at 10 o'clock on Fridays. Shayna, so programmatically, you got the trucks and the vehicles and the people doing the work.
Yes.
What does it look like? Like, what did it look like then? And what does this organization look like 3.5 years now? Wrap for brunch.
Yes, good question. So then at that time, during the height of the pandemic, we had multiple vehicles from the group of companies. So Skyline Restoration, Spring Scaffolding, DNA, Andromeda. We had vehicles from all of those group of companies on the road with several drivers delivering goods from City Harvest, some that were purchased from capital from our founder. There was other resources and basically rescued goods, and we were constantly churning those out every day. And then, as I mentioned, thankfully the city opened back up. People kind of got back to quote unquote some sort of normalcy with regards to their schedules and work and things of that nature. And so we needed to find a full-time driver. And naturally, we went directly to our community-based groups and said, hey, we're looking for a driver. So that's where we started our recruitment, which I highly recommend to anybody doing community work to look and recruit from the community in which you're working with and in, for multiple reasons. But so we got Eddie. Eddie joined our team. He was fabulous. He knew the Bronx better than anybody, better than this Queens girl, although I felt like I kind of lived in the Bronx at the time. I was there every day. But so then we moved on to having one driver on the road. In between, we would also have some great companies like 4D Construction. They would send us some drivers when we needed to fill in. And we were going to about 10 to 15 community-based groups at the time. So 10 to 15 locations over the course of the week. And we were bringing them mixed goods. So it would be either dry goods, so staple pantry items, rice, dry beans, cereal, some produce. If we were able to get that, we were doing the USDA boxes. So the federal government was giving out food boxes at the time. Tuesdays at the time was our biggest haul. And we would get 19 pallets. So I don't know if if people know what that equates to, but it's a 54-foot trailer that would arrive every Tuesday morning.
Every Tuesday.
Yeah.
So that's not all right. That's not small. That's not small potatoes. Wink, wink.
No, it's not.
So witty, but no, but that's so that's now becomes another thing. Wait a minute, got a truck full of food. Now where do we put all this food? Because it's gonna go, right? You mentioned last mile. I'm a little bit familiar with that last mile model. You know, there's a big company that shows up on my porch 3 times a day to drop off things that people order. You might have heard of it. It's something sounds like a rainforest, but they're not sponsoring the show, so I'm not giving them any credit. I'm not gonna, but you've heard of that company.
Yeah,
but
they need to do better, sorry. With their sponsorships.
Yeah, I think
Anyway.
I'm with you. I hear but so you know, that last mile piece I understand, but now you got a truck full of food on Tuesday. It's not leaving immediately. So what happens? What did that look like, man?
Yeah, so Tuesdays was the fun day. You know, it was like, all right, let's go, let's get there, 7 a.m., open up the loading dock. Now, I'm just gonna pause here. How the hell did we get a loading dock, right?
Yeah, I don't know.
So going back to Treasure, what Treasure could be, I had mentioned a little earlier, is real estate, right? So shout out to Urban Edge Properties. They gave us our location, and still to this day, we have a location in the Bronx, our warehouse. And at the time, they also had a loading dock in the shopping center in Bruckner Commons in the Bronx. And we were allowed to use the loading dock to receive this 54-foot trailer. I don't know. I guess people trusted me because I had never done this. And you know, City Harvest calls me up and they're like, oh, are you interested in receiving the USDA boxes? I'm like, sure. What does that look like? Well, it's going to be a 54-foot trailer. I said, okay, that sounds good. How many pallets? Okay, 19. Oh, all right, sure. Send me 2 a week.
Two trucks. 2 trucks.
Yeah.
You have no idea what you're doing on, and on Tuesday, 2 trucks of stuff comes out, showing up.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, listen, I learned a lot about myself. I'm sure many of those that worked with us also learned a lot about themselves. I mean, it was a really amazing and beautiful time for many reasons. We were all challenged in different ways, but a lot of us didn't know what we were doing, but we knew that we had a goal in mind, and that was to get the goods to where they needed to go. And so going back to what did that look like? So the trailer would pull up, and we had a couple of different bays, and we had a group of volunteers at the loading dock that would receive the truck and start pulling them off with pallet jacks, manual pallet jacks, and unload 19 pallets and put them along the loading dock. So we would, thankfully it was a very large loading dock. So we were able to stack, you know, put them next to each other. And then I organized for about 4 different vehicles to come to the loading dock, and we would load those 4 vehicles manually with the boxes, the USDA boxes, and then they would go out for the last mile delivery to different locations. So it was an all-day affair at the end of the, you know, it really was. We would start at 7 a.m. We would usually wrap up by 3. You know, last pickup was probably by 3. So we had, shout out to the Roadrunners also, New York Roadrunners. We had amazing volunteers in the height of the pandemic from that group. And they would stay all day and kind of, you know, project manage this whole operation. I would be there on Tuesdays as well. You know, create the schedule the night before and give the schedule to the drivers so they knew where they were going, how many boxes to bring to what location. And it was really interesting. And we learned a lot. I mean, we have an electric pallet jack now, which is great because I hauled like 1,600 pounds of frozen fish once, and I think I almost broke my back. So I learned, I think I need to try and get an electric pallet jack donated at some point. So now we do have one.
So was that a donation, or did you have to raise funds for that? Where did that come from?
No, we in-kind donations is really, we're very blessed. And I focus a lot on in-kind donations, going back to, you know, sometimes a check is great, but there are many other things depending on what you do and what kind of work you carry out. But with us, we need a lot of equipment, or we needed a lot of equipment then. So yeah, so that was a donation. And you know, this.
Shayna, hold that thought 1 second, because I just want to make a comment and kind of refresh people, remind people of what was going on. You said this was going on in the height of the pandemic. This was March of 2024, where I could roll up at this depot and start volunteering, and no big deal. And it certainly wasn't March of 2019 or even, January of 2020, right? This is masks. This is mail is left on people's porches for a week, Lysoling your mail, your every food being delivered to your house. If you had Instacart or something like that, and you'd leave the food, at least some people would leave the food outside for 2 days. God forbid some other human being touched it who might have. So this wasn't like it is now. So you're
we had like a playbook too, like protocols that we had to build out. So, there were certain, there could only be one driver in each vehicle. And then also when they delivered, there were strict protocols. They were not able to go into the building. They would have to leave it outside and then see that someone came out to get it, but there was no actual physical contact. So there was a lot going on.
No, I think we forget that was the reality of this thing. Like it wasn't just like today, like we're joking about, no one was hugging anybody back then. You might have hugged the people that lived in your house. I mean, remember, it's just so crazy. It really, really
That's
is.
how I got so good at virtual hugs.
We're back again.
We're back again.
What happened to, how did that evolve into what the program looks like today?
Yeah. So, and so that was obviously the height, things were moving very quickly and there was an extreme, need. And over time, we've really pivoted to pivot away from emergency relief and really focusing on the underlying issues as to why there was such a need at the time. So, for instance, there's not enough access to healthy goods in certain neighborhoods throughout our city, and many, I think throughout the city and downstate in general. But so, we've really pivoted now towards more providing access to nutrient-dense goods and working with farmers. So our programming has kind of changed in that way. But the day-to-day, we still are on the road. Eddie is no longer with us, but we were able to get another driver who's been with us for the last 2 years and change, also from the community, Dwayne, and he's just fabulous. And he goes to, we've grown from the 10 to 15 CBOs, community-based organizations, to a network of over 50.
That's incredible.
And
shout out to you guys, because you know what
Thank you.
There's also some humility in the fact that is like, I don't have the answers. The answers are in community. Shout out to my friend Maheen Kaleem, Grant Makers for Girls of Color, because as I'm saying this, I'm hearing her voice. And I'm thinking of my friend Kofo, who's over at the North. Oh my God, is it North? I gotta look it up. North Shore Fund, because we were colleagues in the Institute for Nonprofit Practice, and it's all about not allowing, it's the wrong word, but having the community do the work that they need and know is needed.
Yes.
So it also resonates for me, like with I was thinking of something while you were talking earlier. I don't know if you're familiar with an organization called Rethink Food, but Rethink Food.
Of course, they're our biggest partner. I love them all. We were working with them since the beginning. Yeah.
Don't they have the same mindset? Obviously, if they were a partner,
of course.
The same thing where it's like, and they do. Look, they haven't been on the show yet. I need your help on that, because I met with their CEO.
1,000%.
Yeah, when they were a finalist. I met, when they were finalists in the New York City Imagine Awards 2 years ago. I got to interview him, and I got to go to the kitchen, and it was really cool. In fact, I said I want to do a day of service with them, and I haven't done it, so I got to get out there and do that. But what resonated for me was they go into these restaurants in community. They go into these community-based organizations. Community knows what it needs. The restaurant might have downtime from, let's say, 6 a.m. till noon because they only serve dinner or something like that. They put people to work from the community in the restaurants in the community. They're getting hours. These people are getting paid. They're preparing good, healthy food for the community that they live in. I mean, it's one of these kind of circle of life things. And it's like, and I used the word a couple minutes ago, humility, because it's like, it ain't about us, man. It's about the greater good.
Right.
We got trucks, we got people, I got a loading dock. What do you got? Well, it's funny you should say. I have this pantry at the back of the church, and we need your right. You know what I mean?
Like, and for Rethink, they had prepared meals. So we, in addition to dry goods and produce and things and supplies, we were also distributing for World Central Kitchen at the time, prepared meals. And so that's World Central Kitchen works on a contractual basis during crises and things of that nature. So come June, the contract was over. We no longer had access to prepared meals, insert Rethink Food. And Rethink, we met through like a VOAD, Volunteers of Active Disaster. Shout out to my New York City VOAD group. I'm on the board there. They're amazing, doing fabulous work. And so I met Rethink team. Then they were like, yeah, we have meals. You're able to transport it. That's amazing. So then we started transporting meals. And at the time, learning also pivoting from, you know, 11 Madison Park, for people who don't know 11 Madison Park, look it up. It's one of the greatest restaurants in New York City. They were making meals for the community, Marta, Union Square Hospitality Group, you name it, and all these big restaurants, and which was amazing. But at the same time, not all communities were receiving that type of food well. And so Rethink really was open to listening to, okay, well, what's the feedback from the community? And then when we started working with them, we were picking up from 11 Madison Park and all of these other restaurants. And then eventually I said, listen, I've been working with these other Bronx restaurants locally. Like, would you be willing to work with them? Because their food is definitely well received by their community. And they did. They pivoted, and Rethink's fabulous. I
awesome.
love them. And
here in their website, again, if you're watching, Rethink Food, rethinkfood.org, rethinkfood.org. And the thing I go so taken by when I met Matt, the CEO, I was just taken by the fact that he's like, yo, now this is my words. I'm not saying, I'm summarizing what I heard him say, because I'm going to say it as Tommy D would say, yo, man, we figured this thing out. We actually cracked the code. Like, it wasn't like, he didn't say it in those words, you know, but the summary of the message was, we actually solved it. We figured it out. We just need some more money. We need some more support, but we actually cracked it. So we can get Matt on the show. It's been months. I've probably been a year and a half since I saw him from the past Imagine Award. So
yeah, we'll definitely get all connected. I think we should all meet up, have some coffee, and chat. But yeah, but so yeah, that's partnerships. Going back to the pillars of pooling of resources.
Hold this thought, because I want you to talk about partnerships when we come back. We got to go to a quick break, pay some bills. We come back, we do the lightning round. You talk to me about partnerships, and you talk to me about what's upcoming. Because I told you earlier, we got to run out of show before we run out of important things to talk about. So let's go to a commercial break. Logan, take us there and bring us back quick. Logan, make it a short one. Right back.
Are you a high-achieving, growth-oriented leader? Are you interested in developing your authentic leadership while creating a healthy, inclusive workplace? Hi, I'm Dr. Mira Broncu, host of The Hard Skills on talkradio.nyc at 5 p.m. Eastern on Tuesdays, where we discuss how leaders develop the hard skills needed to make a greater impact. We interview experts, have live coaching, and tackle these challenges. Listen to The Hard Skills on Tuesday at 5 p.m. Eastern on talkradio.nyc.
Hey everybody, it's Tommy D, the nonprofit sector connector, coming at you from my attic. Each week here on talkradio.nyc, I host the program Philanthropy and Phocus. Nonprofits impact us each and every day, and it's my focus to help them amplify their message and tell their story. Listen each week at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time until 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here on talkradio.nyc.
Are you a conscious co-creator? Are you on a quest to raise your vibration and your consciousness? I'm Sam Leibowitz, your conscious consultant, and on my show, The Conscious Consultant Hour, Awakening Humanity, we will touch upon all these topics and more. Listen live at our new time on Thursdays at 12 noon Eastern Time. That's The Conscious Consultant Hour, Awakening Humanity, Thursdays 12 noon on talkradio.nyc.
You're listening to Talk Radio NYC at www.talkradio.nyc. Now broadcasting 24 hours a day.
Nonprofits need connections to move in good directions. So cut through all the static. Join Tommy in his attic.
That's right, we're back. Back. Your boy is back. Your boy is back. Tommy D's back. I'll be here every week. I'll be here in the attic. If you're looking for me, 2 flights up from the kitchen where I get my coffee. I'm in the attic. I just sharing the website nycimagineawards.com, because as we're talking about it, I got to shout it out. We were talking about Rethink Food. Certainly the work you all have done is you need to apply. Shout out. Listen, Sophia, if you're listening, you guys got to apply for the Imagine Awards for the incredible work you're doing. What a special part of my life is being affiliated with the New York City and Long Island Imagine Works. So Shayna, let's talk. You were talking a little bit more about partnerships, but I want to just be mindful. We got about 6 or 7 minutes. I want to make sure we get it all in. So, your partnerships and also what's
That's
up.
it.
Yeah, dude, I'm telling you, this is my show. I tell you, that's why I gotta have to do it 5 days a week because
I told Sophie, I'm like, an hour. What am I going to talk about? She's like, oh, trust me, you and Tommy, you'll talk.
I knew it. I knew it. That's how it goes, man. I used to get nervous. Like, what if we don't have things to talk about? Like, and then I'm like, even if nobody showed up, I could rant for 3 hours. Like, I mean, you know what I'm saying? So it would be okay.
Yeah.
So, so talk to me about
partnerships. Yeah. And then kind of, I think the partnerships will lead to like where we are now. So partnerships obviously is extremely important because we all have something different to offer, but we all have similar goals and missions. So, for instance, obviously, like I mentioned, the partnership with Rethink Food, our partnership with City Harvest, our partnership with the Food Bank, and then most importantly, our community-based organizations that we work with, our CBOs, the network of CBOs. They're the ones, those 50 different locations, about 35 of which we go to every week. They're the ones that are carrying out this work. And one thing that we have consistently heard, and one thing that was near and dear to me, was there's not enough access to hyper local and nutrient dense goods. And so that means, going to the supermarket, even most of our produce, even during the growing season here in this state, is coming from another state or another country. And, so anyway, the goal for me was to pivot from emergency food relief to really providing access to these goods to help change health outcomes. The Bronx is the unhealthiest county in our state. There's 62 counties, and it's the unhealthiest for well over a decade. It continuously comes in as the unhealthiest. And so there's multiple reasons, but one of them is lack of access to these nutrient dense goods. And
so
my goal,
it's like food deserts is like the word we hear about.
Correct.
Like, I live way out here in the country, about 30 miles from New York City, or probably 12 miles from Queens. But there are pockets of the city, pockets of Long Island, pockets of the state, pockets of the country where you just can't get access to good produce. And and you talk about, what we talk about social determinants of health. Professionally, gang, I own an employee benefits agency. We talk about health insurance all the time, right? Excuse me. And when you think about it, where you live, where you buy your food, where you do or don't exercise, the type of air you breathe. When I'm on that Cross Bronx, I'm going out of town, in a couple of days. And, driving on that Cross Bronx and you see the apartment buildings that are just above the Cross Bronx Expressway and all.
Yeah.
What did we think was going to happen like there? Like what, I mean, all right, now we're ranting. I don't want to rant, but let's go back to.
People can look into Cap the Cross Bronx. It's a great initiative that's getting federal attention. So that's Cap the Cross Bronx, but shouting them out. And Milka Martell that relieves that.
How do you spell that? Cap the Cross Bronx? Is it like CAP?
Yep, CAP, the Cross Bronx. Yep.
Got it. Right.
But yeah, going back to that. So we were, my goal was to really be able to figure out how is it that I can tap in to working with the farmers. So we were able to get a little taste of that through a state program, Nourish New York, which at its inception was a really great program. I'm not going to go into the politics of it. It's just not the same program today, but it was really great at the time. In 2021, we were able to work directly with a farmer and the funding came through, and it was basically a line of credit, but started to develop relationship with farmers. Fast forward to today, and thanks to the great development team that I have, shout out to Sophia and Sheila, who wrote the grant back in 2022. We applied to the New York State Department of Agriculture and Markets for their New York Farmers to New York Families grant. And the cap was $2 million for track 1 and $50,000 for track 2, which is kind of like a sub program per se. But anyway, the point of it was they wanted organizations to figure out unique ways to support farmers and then also support our communities in need. So what better way? We know our community downstate. We started to develop, relationships with farmers. And so we also had transportation, which is a great need for farmers. So we wrote the grant. We said, go big or go home, went for the $2 million, and we were awarded.
Well,
and that was a game changer.
$2 million bucks.
Yes, over 2 years. But a commitment of that is 1.3 million of the 2 million goes directly into the hands of BIPOC, small, mid-sized family, women-owned farmers. And then their goods go directly for free to our communities that we serve. So that answered and kind of is helping us meet our goal of providing access to these goods. And so it was really exciting, and that's what we're looking at now. And we're launching our Feed Try Borrow program. So we will continue to do the work that we're doing in the Bronx, but we are also going to be in Queens and Brooklyn this year. We'll be in Brownsville, Kensington, and Brooklyn, and then for Queens, we'll be in Ridgewood and Jamaica. Jamaica's close to where I grew up. I currently live in Ridgewood, so it's all full circle for me. And again, just working with these community-based groups, doing what they do best in their communities, but providing them with the tools and the goods that they need to get out to their community.
All right, two things I gotta get in here. First of all, this is incredible. I want to do something. I want you to take this to Matt over at Rethink Food and his team. What if we did like a Facebook Live and we talk about all these
for sure,
prospects and opportunities and things you all have accomplished? And I'd love to do that, because I don't know if it's appropriate on this show, because we'll just run out of time, and to a lot. Maybe we run it as like a panel discussion. So let's talk about that offline.
Yeah.
I noticed as you were talking, you a little bit of hand talking like I do. I noticed the shamrock on your wrist.
Yeah.
I actually, shout out, next week, St. Patrick's Day, the Feast of St. Patrick. Yes. My family.
Eringo Bra.
Well, I was going to say to you, I'm going to the Queen's Chamber St. Patrick's Day luncheon next week on Wednesday. You and I should talk about it. We'll text later, because I think it would be, I think it'd be a great way for you to get out and certainly meet some of the folks. And actually, one of the Kennedy grandsons is one of the honorees there. So we go to the Irish thing. Maybe we could talk.
Nice.
His name is I think it's Jack Schlossberg. I was out with Tom Gretsch and the gang and Brendan from the chamber the other night, so we would talk about this. But anyway, it'd be great to get you in the room with me, because that's the best thing is when we're together, we can walk around and meet people. One last thing I got to say too. I shouted out my friend Kofo Anafalaji. She's the director of development with the North Star Fund, and she and our other friend Maheen Kaleem at the Grantmakers for Girls of Color are these organizations that bring the dollars to the community, and the community knows what they need and knows how to spend.
North Star Fund is great. Absolutely love them, and they are supporting one of our CBOs for an upcoming race, Friendly Fridge BX, shouting them out too.
Shout outs. I don't know what Friendly Fridge BX is, and I can't even ask you because we're out of time. I told you this was going to happen an hour ago, right? And it happened.
Yes.
Right, look, Dana, how do they keep in touch with you and the organization before we go?
So you guys can definitely visit us at www.rap4bronx.org or skylinefoundation.us. And our social media handle is RAP4 Bronx. We always have our stuff going up on IG, what we're up to. We're going to have a really busy growing season, and we hope people will support.
I want to come out. I want to do some farming. I don't know if you want me driving a truck. My wife will tell you I'm a terrible driver. She's wrong. But listen, here's the last thing I need. We got to talk about hoodies, because I see a really cool Rap for Bronx hoodie that I don't know if you have them.
We need merch.
We need merch. Going to get you hooked up with my guys. I got my friend Fred Taffer. He's on it. I'll talk to him. We'll connect you. I was telling Sophie about him yesterday. All right, look, Shana, I appreciate you. I appreciate being my friend. Let's text later, talk about the
Thank you.
Make it a great day, everybody. I love you all. I love you all. Guys are allowed to say that stuff. I love you, man. Hugs on the way out. Logan, take us home.
Yes.
Everybody.
Thank you.
Profits need connections to move in good directions. So cut through all the static. Join Tommy in his attic.